Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of my tutorial park. In today's episode, I'm going to build a vertical drop coaster, or known in the community as a dive coaster. And I will most likely build it somewhere around here. Now recently, some new track pieces have been added to the game, the dive loop track piece, and these will greatly help in creating a nice vertical drop coaster. Now before I start any building, I will first name several more handymen after people who commented on the last video. Alright, here's the new additions to the Handyman squad, and if you also want to sweep vomit in my park, just leave a fun or interesting comment on this video, and you may get picked out. Alright, let's start building the vertical drop coaster. Now, the vertical drop coaster obviously will need to have a vertical drop somewhere, or else you shouldn't be calling it a vertical drop coaster. Now, I've already selected a location where I want the vertical drop to be, which will be over here. If you make a vertical drop, you'll always want it to be at a point where guests could actually see it. It will definitely be something for guests to admire or to look at. So it's always good to put it in a location where it would be easily visible. For example, right next to a path. That's where most real vertical drop coasters will actually have their drop. Now, quite a few vertical drop coasters in America don't actually go underground. Not all of them do. But I think it does look nice if it actually drops underground. So that's what I'm also going to do over here. So the drop will go underground over here and will pop out of the ground somewhere over here again. Now I'm gonna start off with building a holding brake. And that will make it easy for me to visualize where the drop is going to be. I'm actually going to start with the drop because the location of the drop will be most important. And then I'm just going to build backwards to the station. Okay, for the height, I'm just guessing. You'll just have to make the height something which you think looks good. Now, if you build your vertical track at the right height, then when you meet the ground, you can see the game already draws a tunnel. If the ground is half a unit higher, it won't make a nice tunnel. So, and then you also are not able to build into the ground. If that happens, you could just lower the ground and build into that. I think it looks nicest when the game actually draws a nice tunnel for you. Alright, and here we'll just make some steep track. And here we'll want to have a transition to horizontal. Now, I actually want this transition to be bigger. And we can switch between the small transition to horizontal and the large transition to horizontal by enabling a cheat. And that's a cheat for enabling all drawable track pieces. In the future, we may get a UI to actually choose between the two, but for now it's done by using this cheat. And normally, I like using these large transitions, because the tiny ones, they're just silly, especially after vertical drop. Now here I'll build a few straight track pieces. Now I'm gonna leave this track here for now, and instead I wanna focus on building the track to the station. Now, most vertical drop coasters, not all of them, but most of them, they actually have a big curve on top of the lift hill. Now, I don't know why, but that's just how most of them look. It's not necessary. For example, Baron at Efteling doesn't actually have this, so it's not really necessary, but most of them do have a big curve on top. Now, here I'm going to disable this cheat again, and then we can have a small transition here, and here I'll make a lift hill to the station. Now, station can be pretty short. These trains are not very long, so 2 or 3 tiles is usually enough. Now I always build the station a bit off the ground, and that will make it easier to decorate later. And I think it always looks a bit nicer if tracks are off the ground anyway. Okay, now I'm gonna continue working on this underground track here. So after this big drop, after the transition to horizontal, I usually put a few straight track pieces. And here we'll want to have another big transition to a steep track. So I'm gonna enable the cheat to enable all drawable track pieces again. And here we're gonna go vertical. Now up here I'm just going to raise the ground a bit, and that will let the game draw a tunnel like this for me again. Alright, up here you could build 1 or 2 vertical track pieces, and most vertical drop coasters start with an Immelman. So they go up here. Well, usually it's easiest to do this with a quarter loop, and then you'll have to go out of the inversion again. Most people used to use 0G rules for this. So for example, you could do something like this. Before that was possible, most people used the barrel roll. But now we have these really nice dive loop track pieces. So here I'm just going to make a dive loop to the left. And that will allow us to make a really nice transition out of this inverted track here. Okay, and when that's done, it's just a matter of finishing the layout. Now, I think I'm gonna give it 1 or 2 more inversions. I'm gonna see if I can make it go over the station here in a nice way. And over here we can probably have a brake run and then a second drop. But yeah, we'll get there when we get there. For now, I'm just going to try and find a nice way to go over the station. Right, I found a nice way to go over the station. That was actually much easier than I thought. Yeah, if you want to see if your trains will actually make it through the track, you can always just press the blue flag and it'll make your train spawn. It's gonna make some track behind the station, so the trains have all the space to spawn. As you can see, this train is a bit squashed. But yeah, the first train is most important anyway. But that's always a good way to check if your train goes through the track with enough speed. I don't want it to look like it will stall in this second inversion. So just gonna give it a quick check. Now these trains don't actually have sprites for these dive loop track pieces, but I think it still looks decent enough for me to use this. You probably shouldn't put any corkscrews in a track like this, because if you do a corkscrew, the vehicles will pretty much just travel through them sideways, and it will look really clunky. This also looks clunky, but it at least looks decent. Alright, here I'm going to make a mid-course brake run and then a second drop. So I'm just going to put a few brake pieces. I'll add the block brake later, because if we build a block brake now, we can no longer simulate the ride unless we put it out of block brake mode again. Okay, for the second drop, typically there's no holding brake, so I'm not going to do that. Let's disable this cheat again. Now the second drop on a vertical drop coaster is usually much less steep than the first one. So you could just go with a steep drop like this, or you could actually make it vertical, but here we don't really have enough space for that anyway. I'm just going to make it a steep track, and here I'm just going to make see if I can add another inversion that's not a corkscrew, and then we're gonna go back to the station here. Alright, I think this is a decent layout. So now I'm going to add the block brakes, and after that we can actually test the ride. Okay, I'm gonna do one less train than the number that we can have on the track, and that's because I don't like if trains are waiting for each other. So you could yeah, try a complicated scheme to have to make it to time everything so that the trains never have to wait, but I think it's always just easier to just have one train less and that will usually ensure that they never have to wait, for example on a lift hill or over here. I think it's a much more enjoyable to watch a coaster that never has to wait somewhere. Alright, I did a quick recoloring of the track and the trains. And what I want to do next is make a nice catwalk here for this section of track. Now for that I typically just use a wooden coaster track, so that's what I'm gonna use now as well. So here we'll want to have some track that steeply goes upwards. So I'll disable clearance checks. Now we won't be able to fit it exactly here, since the wooden coaster doesn't have these small horizontal to steep transitions. So just gonna place a wooden coaster track piece here. Gonna select it in the tile inspector. Just hold Control and click a track piece to select it. And I'm just going to move it up until it's right below the vertical drop coaster track. I think this works well. You can see the wooden coaster track is now at height 84 and the vertical coaster track is at height 85. And now we can just continue building the wooden track, except we cannot since it's at an invalid height. So then we'll have to enable the cheat to allow building track at invalid heights. Now here once again we cannot really make this transition in a nice way. So I'm just going to make a track section here that goes to a less steep track. And the rest will build in a different way. Now first gonna go backwards here. Here I'm also going to make one of these transitions. I think that works well enough like that. I will paste a straight track piece under here later. Okay, here I'm just gonna build a straight track piece. We can remove this one. Gonna go in Tile Inspector again, gonna once again select this track piece. Gonna copy it. Gonna paste it over here. Gonna move it down a little bit. Can remove this track piece. And I want to make it right below this vertical drop coaster track. So this vertical drop coaster track is at height 104. This wooden coaster track is at height 103. So that should go well. Alright. Now we can remove this track piece. Okay, and I think it might look nice to also have a piece of wooden coaster track right below this holding brake. So let's try that as well. Just gonna copy this one and paste it here. Let's rotate it. Let's move it down slightly. I think that looks pretty nice. Now, and then over here at the end, I also want to paste a straight track piece. So I'm just gonna see if I can build one here. So just gonna copy it. And then we'll paste it below here. Let's rotate it and move it down. Like so. I think that looks nice enough. Now, these vertical drop coasters, they don't really have these lattice supports below them. They usually only have support columns. So, yeah, that's something which we should probably also do. Now, an easy way to remove these supports of the wooden coaster is to put these tracks pieces above the vertical drop coaster track. So then the vertical drop coaster track supports will show again. I'm just going to select this wooden coaster track piece, move it up, and that will make the supports disappear, and will make the vertical drop coaster supports show if the vertical drop coaster draws any supports at this part. Right, for this top of the lift hill, I want to have some nice custom supports. Now, because there's a path under here, it doesn't draw supports under all of these track pieces. I think with the support over here and another support over here, and we can make some scenery poles next to it, then we can have some supports which look like they could hold up this entire part here. So if you don't want a footpath to block creating supports, you can just move the footpath under surface. As you can see, once again here it draws a nice support. Now in order to be able to make support look like it's actually connected to a steel beam, it's always best if the steel beam is shifted to the side of the block. And when that's done, it's really easy to connect one of these poles to it. So if we move the track piece to this part of the block, we would be able to connect it. So for that, I'm going to use some steel wild mouse track. As you can see, if we build a curve here, you can see the support gets shifted to the side. It doesn't get shifted to any side. Looks like we have the choice between 3 of them. So this would work for me. Now the support's a little bit more to the side, and then I can have a pole here that goes to the middle. And on this side, we'll also paste a track piece. Now it doesn't look like we can move it to this side here. So I will just move it to here. You will see this little kink here at the top, but we can make a pole that looks like it connects to this part of the support. So for this steel wild mouse track, you could now just go in Tile Inspector and just move it underground, like so. You can use the scroll wheel in this field to move something underground, by the way. Alright, and when that is done, we can now connect a pole to the support here. Now, if we build it under here, you can see the support actually disappears. So we're just gonna build it somewhere over here. I'm gonna build 2 right under each other, like so. And then we're gonna go in the Tile Inspector, and I'm gonna move these poles above the track, and now you can see the original support shows again. And it kind of looks like these poles are connected to this support. Now I'm just gonna extend these poles to the ground. Now these poles are really annoying to build in isometric view. What I always do is I hover with the mouse over this piece, hold Control. So now we're building at the same height as this track piece. And only when they're overlapping, we're building at exactly the same spot. So then we can move over to the next tile. Then while still holding Control, I hold Shift and I move it down. And then we place 2 more of these track pieces. Then let go of Control and Shift. Then I hover over this track piece again, hold Control, then move right next to it. And I'm gonna continue building these poles. Alright, and I'm going to do the same on this side. Alright, and if you do it like this on the inside of this turn, it looks like these supports meet up over here. And that can look pretty nice. Now I'm not going to make custom supports for the entire track, especially for these lower parts. I don't think it's really necessary. But I do want to show you a trick to add supports on places where the game normally doesn't draw supports. So for this support over here, you can see it's in the corner of the tile, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to actually make a support that connects from all angles. As you can see, there's a small gap between this support and these poles. It does look right from one angle, or 2 angles actually, but the other 2 angles doesn't really look nice. Now it would be much easier if this support was shifted here to the middle of the track, but with a steel wild mouse coaster track, I believe we can only make it disappear. How it disappears and it doesn't actually shift. So to shift a support, it has to be in the middle of the tile. Now we can actually do another trick here to draw the support wherever we want. So for that I'm going to make an inverted roller coaster track here. And I'm going to make a curved track piece, like so. Actually let's do it in a direction which has the support facing the direction we want, like so. We want this one. And I'm going to make the track invisible using the invisible color. And I'm going to color it white. And in Tile Inspector I'm going to select this track piece. I'm gonna copy it and then I'm going to paste it here. Make sure it's above surface. And then I'm going to move it above the vertical drop coaster track here. Now, the vertical drop coaster track I will put it under surface to hide this support. As you can see, we now have a new support here, and it connects nicely in the middle here. And the reason we want this, because that makes it really easy to make a nice support using single rail coaster track, which will connect here right in the middle. Right, as you can see, if a support is on the edge of a tile here in the middle, then you can just connect a single rail coaster track to it. And I think it looks pretty nice. Alright, I will also use this, try to use this for this inverted track over here, and maybe over here as well. Okay, I went ahead and also put some wooden coaster track under the mid-course brake run and under the final brake run here. Also put some extra supports over here just to make it look a little bit more sturdy. Now, what we'll probably also want to have for this ride is a transfer track. We only have 2 trains, so I think 1 storage shed should be enough, since the other train could be stored in the station. Now, these trains are really wide, so you also want the building where the vehicles are stored to be a little bit wider than usual. I'm just going to raise the ground a little bit, and then I'm going to make a track here. Now you'll have to imagine that this track could slide to the left and to the right. So under here we're just going to make some rails which the track would be able to slide on. Alright, just build some single rail coaster track under here. If you want to make it look fancy, you could even combine some tracks here. For example, sometimes I see people put some steeplechase track under here, or some monorail track. You can really go crazy with this if you want. And then over here, I'm just going to copy some brake track. Over here, you could make a storage shed for the coaster. So I'm quickly going to make a little building over here. Okay, I just made a simple building over here. Now here you can see the track, which this track would connect to if this vehicle would be on top and slide in this direction. Now as for the walls, what I always like to do is either put some of these poles here on the side to make the wall look a little bit less thin, or you could use something like these sandstone skyscraper fillers. They also work great to make a wall look a little bit more thick. And as for the roofs, I used a combination of these glass roofs with these mine roofs, and that always makes for a nice looking combo. Alright, now it's time to connect this station to the path here, and also to make a nice station building for the coaster. Now I'm going to try and keep it simple. I think the building will be mostly in the same style as this transfer track. And as for the queue path and the exit path, I will probably just lead them under here and then to this somewhere to over here. Okay, we now have a nice simple station for the ride and a queue to connect it. And a lot of the guests are already getting in line for this new coaster, which is nice. Now, something which I would also like to see is some more guests around this drop. So for that, I think it will be a good idea to make some shops here where guests can get some food or drinks, maybe also some toilets, and that should bring some more guests to this area. Okay, I quickly built a small restaurant under here. It's nothing special, but yeah, it sells vegan stuff. So here's a shop that sells vegan sandwiches, and here's a shop that sells vegan lemonade. And by doing that, yeah, we'll have some more guests around this area. Also some guests sitting around next to this drop. I think that makes for a really nice scene. Yeah, I'm super happy with how this ride has come together. Alright, now it's time to once again add one of my patrons to the park as an entertainer. I think I will do a double scene here with a guest and an entertainer right next to him. Alright, we now have a guest here who is eye-popping at this coaster. This is the animation the guests normally make when they try to enter a ride which has too high intensity. I think it looks pretty funny here. And this guest, I named the guest You, so you are now also in the park. And over here, let's name this entertainer after one of my patrons. Alright, Glitchy Carrot, thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon, it's truly appreciated. And I hope you enjoy your spot in the park. And if you're watching this, you also want to support my YouTube channel, you can find a link to my Patreon channel in the video description. Alright, that concludes my tutorial on how to make a nice dive coaster. We will finish this video with a ride on this coaster. But until then, yeah, if you enjoyed this tutorial or if it was useful for you, please like this video. It would really help out my channel. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this tutorial. And if you want to see more videos like these, you can always subscribe to my channel. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.